Hi, this is Nick. Welcome to ISG, where we talk all things real estate in the Czech Republic. Today, I wanted to do a little bit of work looking at the difference in costs of buildings and their energy efficiency to see if it's worth spending more on a more efficient property. So in order to answer this question, I decided to build a little calculator, which was going to look at the difference between the energy efficiency and the effective cost of the additional energy you have to spend to heat your property versus borrowing additional money for a more expensive property. So if we look here, you've got a little calculator which I'm going to attach to this video. We've got here the apartment size, which is important because it works out the total energy cost. We've got the cost of the property and how much money you're going to put down, and that will give you how much you're going to borrow. So obviously, when we're borrowing more money, it's going to cost us more money in interest, and we're going to work out if it's worth spending more money in interest or whether it's worth just getting a cheaper property with a worse rating. Here we've got the length of the mortgage, and here we've got the interest rate. So all of these factors are kind of important. So with the numbers we've got in here, this will give us our monthly repayment and how much of that is interest. Now, the amount of interest and the amount of capital repaid varies every month. It goes from being more interest when you start through to be very little at the end of the mortgage. So this is like an average per month for the first year. And here we've also got the average price of a kilowatt of energy. Now, as we know, interest rates are currently high, and also costs of units of energy are high. And most likely both will come down at a similar kind of pace. We could see energy, of course, falling a lot faster, and then interest rates coming down a bit lower. So you can play with this calculator quite a bit. So then I've got a little bit here which can tell you the difference. So here we've got a little drop down where we can see the different categories. So if we're comparing an energy efficiency B to say an energy efficiency D, we're getting a result here which is based on this table that I've made below. And that result is telling us here between the energy efficiency B and energy efficiency D that the cost in borrowing in our current situation is basically the equivalent of 580,000 price. So that means that if the property with a B rating that was, say, exactly the same floor plan was more than 580,000 more expensive than our category D. If it's more expensive, it's better to take the category D. If it's less expensive, it would be better to get the category B. So if we look here in our table how this is calculated, we've got the options here, A to F. There is G as well, but I didn't include that. Not a lot of properties are truly at G, and also G has no limit. It just means it's above this highest level and beyond. So here's how many kilowatt hours per meter squared that the property loses, and this is like our minimum energy cost to heat the property per month, based on the 8 crowns per kilowatt cost, and this is the maximum. So the average we've got here, and then the difference between the two levels, we've got here the differences. So between A and B, it's going to cost you an additional 1,600 crowns in this example, and then between B and C, an additional 1,700. So across the two, that's 3,200. And then we've converted this back into a number which is based on that. If this difference was expressed as interest, this is how much you would have borrowed paying that interest, and that's how the calculator works. So as we can see, if we do more categories, like if we go between a B and an E, for example, we're getting 870,000, so that's quite a lot. So if the range is quite big, it could well be worth it. But when the range is very small, like if it's just between two levels and we get like 300,000, there's not too much difference there. So it's just worth checking it out when we're looking at properties to try and compare those costs as well. Thanks very much for watching, and see you guys again soon.